Okay, so I'm going to discuss my new definitions for the words family, home, and love. These are the terms that, in theory, define who we are and who we most closely are committed to and relate to. And so, but first I want to make a congratulation towards Goddess V, which is vulva. So, uh, so the only thing that matters is Goddess V. Just thinking about her for one moment, then you'll be okay for the rest of your life, even if you're have an unenjoyable life or you're in prison or anything, because at the back of your mind there's always Goddess V. And some people may think that this means that I'm like desperately looking for women, or that I want to have sex with a woman if I see her and I'm like looking at her and it seems like I would want to have sex with her. But no, I do not want to have sex with a woman unless I'm married to her. And to me, sex is not the most important thing. It's giving oral sex to her, because that's like transcending the just mindless man wanting to dominate and impregnate and, you know, have intercourse and get off with a woman when he can do that himself. But the thing you can't replicate with the Jock Johnson signature stroker is you can't replicate synthetically oral sex. And oral sex is how you worship Goddess V. You can also worship Goddess V by saying, you know, if somebody makes a joke about big like breast size, and say, well, that doesn't, you know, breasts are for children. I prefer a flat chest, and the only thing that matters is Goddess V. And there's nothing more beautiful or amazing than vulva. And then see what people say to that, you motherfuckers. So, and it doesn't even fucking matter what women think about all this either, because women just they're very good at following a, you know, incorporate information and but they just operate off of information and instruction. They don't really, I think they don't really have their own ideas and their own sense of, like, you know, and that's not an insult. That's because women are complementary towards men, right? All right, so that being said, let's get right into what do we want to talk first. We want to talk love, family, or home. Now, this isn't the most exciting subject, but it's important for your personal well-being, because you got to be extremely careful who you, at a conscious or subconscious level, say that you're committed to, say who's your authority, say what your home is, and, you know, like what you need to, if you need all these fancy things to feel okay about life and feel like life, you know, that you're at a, you know, home or whatever it is, then that limits you, that controls you. Okay? So let's start off with home, because that's more abstract. It's going to require more intellectual firepower for me to kind of assess that. So when somebody says they have a sense of home, that usually implies, you know, this is my home. It usually implies that they're in one place, and that the world or anywhere is not their home, but it's only one specific house, right? That's a serious problem, because it limits your ability to survive, to adapt, to go into different situations and different environments, right? but we want to be able to adapt. So what happens is people, okay, so part of the problem is also that there's property tax, which makes it so you can't ever really have a domain. You can't really have your intergenerational established, and so there's benefits to home, but you also need to be willing to leave it, is the point. And the way to be willing to leave it is by realizing that home is the fucking earth. That is our home. We can sleep wherever we need to. If you need to sleep on some cardboard, in some place, and try to, that you are home. That is your home, energetically. So many people get super attached to, their quote-unquote biological parents' home, which you never want to label someone a parent as because that's labeling them your authority. But they get so attached to the interdependent need for financial and emotional boosting. And so what that consists of is stuff like, even if they're out of the home, the kids, they might ask, and even labeling yourself a kid is a horrible idea, but for the sake of conversation and referential purposes, I'm trying to explain this in conventional terms. Although I never would call myself a son or a daughter or a nephew, because those are all terms of submission and where the other person's your authority. Like, you might be thinking like I'm ridiculous, but think about it. If one of the people in your biological legal family was a bad person, you would rather not call them that, right? You'd rather not call them your father if they're an evil person, or your brother, whatever it is. So go with that logic. And if somebody doesn't share the same core values as you, then fucking don't label them a power over you. Even labeling somebody a brother, it's this self-deceit. Because if they don't have the same values as you, then you're not really wanting. Why would you want to commit to them? It's not logical. Now, for women, it might be different. Women may need that, to stay at the home until they're married. Women may need to be protected by the man and label. And then subsequently the father passes her on to the husband, and then the husband, during the wedding ceremony, right? And women may not like the idea, okay, of that they, the only reason they don't like the idea of a patriarchal world is because the men are fucked up. All the men, what are they doing? They're divorcing their wives. They're not getting married even. They're divorce. I shouldn't have said that because that's more complicated. It can involve both parties. But what men doing these days? They're not marrying, and they're not properly formally committing someone they want to and planning it like it's the biggest decision of their life, and they're just going into it by getting sexually attached first, and then that clouds their judgment. And so, and then what happens? Then what happens? Then what happens is okay, well, I think you guys get the idea there. So that's the idea of home, right? Home is the world. Home is anywhere that's at least safe where you can sleep. The the downside of not having one steady home is that you're always thinking about what are you always thinking about? You're always thinking about, like, you have to double check around and see, is this safe? You have to make make the nest, right? You have to remake the nest every time. Okay, so, and then maybe home is a sense of like an allegiance to one country, like this is my home country or home state, right? But the only way we're gonna survive, guys, is if we fucking commit to Goddess V Vulva and not to all these limitations, like, what's a limitation? The tribalism of saying that, oh, I'm of this ethnicity, or oh, I'm of this country of origin. Like, we need to broaden our views into the world as human beings and celebrate our flower, our woman. And instead of fucking disgusting, just celebrating pets and fucking, this over materialism and even stuff like celebrating like celebrating embarrassment or any of it. It's all stuff you don't want. All you want to occupy your mind is with good stuff, like happy smiling people, vulva. All right, so that being said, right, let's move on to the next play. So what's the next play? The next play is yeah, what's the next play? So home, we covered home, right? I dabbled a bit in the family idea and the love idea. Now let's take a look at, I didn't dabble in love yet. So love, as I define it, okay, so first I should define home. Home is the world. Okay, we can all surely agree on that. Like, we should, and then that may mean that you need to learn some language skills or learn to effectively use Google Translator, or maybe as a world we can commit to one language. I think English I prefer is because it's not that emotional. Like, it doesn't have the up and down intonations of like Chinese and different. And I like Chinese people, and I think they have an industrious culture and a fun culture. But the language I have an issue with. I think it's too harsh in a way. In the same way that, like, people with a New York accent, I think it's too gritty and rough. And it's not necessary to be a strong, tough person to talk like aggressively. It's not needed. You may want to talk loudly and clearly like this and formally. Like, for example, instead of saying like "fuck you," it's more powerful to say something more technical, like you are behaving in an unloving and unfriendly way. That's more compelling, and it's actually less contentious. It's not like, if you want a person to change and be a nicer person, you've got to communicate more carefully. just like if you're afraid of someone, just say, you know, they're making you feel fearful. All right. Moving on. Moving on to the idea of love. So love is as I define it, a commitment to mutually held beliefs. Mutually held beliefs. So the way you one is by first, you can't, okay, so part of it is you can't really love someone. You can only love their value system. Okay? You can only be committed to someone's value system. Alright? And so if you love someone, it means you have the same core values as they do. It's useful to limit core values to the most critical ones that you truly critically need. Like, for example, I don't like pets, so maybe that's critical, right? What else do I not like? I also don't like what do I like? I like vulva, so people have to be committed to worshiping Goddess V if they're in my life. Even gay guys can do it. The way they do it is by supporting the way you do it is as a gay guy is you help support the cause of enabling men and women to celebrate vulva, show off vulva, and encouraging like your sisters and protecting them until they find a good, loving man who will lovingly care for them and you know, worship them, right? And worship their vulva. Like, that's what it's all about. And like I said earlier, I'm a man of principles. If a woman does not have the same values as me, I figured a way to do it is to make someone a spiritual sister first, and then if they are your spiritual sister and have been vetted and pre-qualified, then maybe ask them. The only thing you should ever ask a woman if it has to do with potential romance is, are you looking for a husband? And if she says yes, then you could say, well, I'm looking for a wife. And if you have some interest in me, you know, you should not ask me for a card or ask me for, you know, and record the conversation, because some women are, well, you should be able to visually see if some woman's crazy by just looking at her, observing her for a bit, but some women are crazy and they'll accuse you of harassment or something. Like, let's say you someone at the workplace where you think, see, the problem is women are kind of irrational. They just want all the attention from all the males, and they're constantly, trying to find a better man. Like women, unless they're at a more conscious level. Hey, Imagine. Oh, good. It's good to hear from you, Imagine. Here we are. We're fucking live, dude. So let's see. Yeah, Imagine. I've already loaded a lot on to the conversation, but there's still plenty more to share. So I'm glad you're here. So I examined love for a bit. Now let's examine family. You're talking about family. Now try to take a break from what is happening in whatever your family life is and imagine what is possible. This is called abundance thinking. It's the same as the difference between when somebody thinks when someone thinks that they, if you had, $1 million, then what would you do? It's like more abundant thinking, right? So what poor people think, and this is a side note, what poor people think is, oh, rich people should just give me money so I can buy stuff. Okay, and then they think like it's not fair, and then all poor people think of is when they get money is how they can spend it. Poor people don't think of like how to invest or save money. Now, rich people, on the other hand, when they think about money, they think of what can I do to make the money work. And instead of saving or investing the money, they instead just spend more because they're making more perpetually. All right, so back to that, and maybe I can tie all that in, the financial aspect and the family aspect, because so there's different roles in families. I think that as adults we shouldn't label people the roles of father or mother, but rather we should label them, if they do have the same values as us and we want to stay committed to them, we should label them as our spiritual brother or sister. That's what I think. And the same goes with even someone who's your biological brother or sister. If they don't have the same values as you, it wouldn't be fair to commit to them. I don't think. Or expect them to commit to you. In fact, it's me respecting the person. Like, for example, my real biological brother. I feel like I'm respecting him by saying, well, at most I want to be friends with you, not spiritual brother, or refer to each other as brother, because you don't have the same values as me, core values. And I respect that. I'm not trying to change you. I'm not trying to force you. I respect that you have your right to live your life on your terms. Okay? All right, so that's the idea of family. Let's see. Imagine, there you are. Thank you, Imagine. I've been having fun, Imagine. I've been doing more live broadcasts. You can glance through those. But just being here in person, like, there's something about it, Imagine. And by the way, Imagine, I want you to do something. I want you to look up this guy named Owen Cook. I actually paid and spent some time with him. So I really want you to check out Owen Cook. Check out his most recent stuff. To me, it's by far the most advanced, sophisticated, avant-garde personal development out there. Owen Cook, okay? By far. Now, of course, does he orient himself around family and vulva? No, he does not. He does not worship vulva. He worships getting off on finding more women, the chase, the game of cold approach, the game of, trying to seduce and pick up people spontaneously, the game of having lots of women around him so that he kind of boosts his ego, but really men should be able to boost their own ego. They should be able to boost their own ego by doing things like exercise, personal development work, listening to themselves by journaling, doing stuff they like to do, creative activities. But when you look to the externality to boot your ego fulfilled, that's when you begin to suffer, because you're not internally derived and self-actualizing. You're acting as if the answers are outside of you, but there is nothing outside. All there is pure consciousness. That's who we all are. But as it is limited and confined to these individual bodies, we're just making it work the best we can, and always trying to improve the human experience, right? So, okay, so that being said, back into definitions. Let me reiterate. I'm going to go ahead and reiterate. Fucking asshole. Fucking asshole. Guy wouldn't, well, it just on the road, I was turning and he was in a rush. Alright, so So let me reiterate. So how do I define love? Love is a mutually held commitment to common values. You can't love a person. You can only love mutually ideal, and then work together towards those, and that creates the feeling of love. And so love is a commitment, a lifetime commitment to a specific person, but it's only because that person has the same values as you and is also in proximity to you. You know, people who live in different places of the world, I think you can only really love someone if you see each other every week, like at church or something like that. Like you know, people can say they love you, but how can you love someone unless they can call you in an emergency in the middle of the night and you'll be able to actually help them, you know? So, but who knows?
Quarter mile, keep left to continue.
It's a bit of a rigid definition, but similar to love, but it's labeling someone, instead of labeling them a biological legal reference in the role of authority, like father, uncle, or brother, or any of these terms. Instead, I use the terms because it's just too complicated. What do the terms actually mean? It's like, is the person your guardian? Maybe that's who they are. That's a role, a defined role. And a lot of parents are bad guardians and they're bad disciplinarians. You know? And then what are grandparents? Are grandparents also parents? Can they also discipline and instruct the child? You know, so it's better to label each other as, I use the terms male guardian and female guardian. MG and FG, and then guardian client. Because I think that people can't love a child. It may sound harsh, but it's because it's actually like forcing the child to, it's like forcing the, it's like
In a quarter mile, turn left.
it's like forcing the child to have the same beliefs as you, and you can't do that. Now you can try to raise them as best you can with values you like, but ultimately they have to choose on their own as adults. They have to choose as adults who they're going to be. Committed to. Okay. Let me check. That makes sense. Hey, imagine. Tech. Now, Tech, don't tease yourself. Choose one vulva and then commit to that. You can have it every day. And even these fucking guys who are alpha males thinking they're big shots, dude, they're having sex with women who are having sex with other men. So it's like a waste. All right. So. You guys hear the diesel truck I'm running? I'm driving a diesel truck today. It's pretty cool. So, do not enter, what the fuck?
In a quarter mile, your destination will be on the left.
Alright, so where am I here? Where am I? So kind of wrapping up because I gotta take care of business. So that's the definition of family is people who are your spiritual brothers or sisters, who you're committed to for life, and who live close enough to you. You can call for an emergency. Who you kind of like a church. You see each other from week to week. And yeah, I mean, the problem is all these long-distance relationships, they're not real. You need real people near you to raise children. People might say stuff like, oh, this is, my kid's grandma. But if the grandma's far away and they only see them sometimes, it's like, they need, you need to raise children as a village. Customer enter proceedings. Okay, so I gotta sign out, guys. Thank you, Imagine Tech One. It's been a pleasure. Check out my recent videos, my recent lives, and just know that I'm moving the ball. I'm getting more confident and willing to share hard truths.
Your destination is on the left.
And yeah, let's talk more. Let's have some more fun. I defined love. I defined family, and then home. I defined as well as home is the world. It's wherever you make it, and just make it work. So thank you guys. We'll talk more. Aloha. Take